From boardrooms to break rooms, if it's business, it matters. Welcome to another episode of Business Matters, where we discuss matters of importance to businesses. I am your host, Patricia White, and I have a special guest with me today, Mr. Errol Gaskin, who is here to discuss building resilience for businesses. Errol is a seasoned public safety expert and attorney at law whose career reflects more than 38 years of distinguished service to Barbados. A former divisional officer of the Barbados Fire Service, Mr. Gaskin built a national reputation for excellence in emergency response, crisis leadership, and organizational resilience. His decades of operational experience continue to inform his work today as a legal professional and advisor. Errol's academic achievements demonstrate a powerful blend of management, legal, and disaster response expertise. He holds a bachelor's degree in public sector management, a master's degree in project management and evaluation, and a Bachelor of Laws from the University of the West Indies. He later completed his legal education certificate, transitioning into the legal profession with a strong foundation in governance, public administration, and regulatory frameworks. His specialized training includes the medical management of disasters through UE, equipping him with advanced competencies in emergency coordination and disaster preparedness, skills that remain highly relevant to his legal and advisory work. Errol has also contributed to academic development as a former part-time tutor in management studies at UE, where he supported the growth of emerging leaders and public sector professionals. Today, as an attorney at law, he brings a unique perspective shaped by decades of frontline experience, strategic leadership, and legal insight. GHIS is honored to welcome him to episode 5, where we will discuss business resilience. Welcome, Errol. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation here to discuss this very important topic.
Thank you.
How have you been?
Working hard, but praying.
Busy.
I'm praying.
Thank you for taking some time out your busy schedule to be with us here today. So I'll just jump right into it. Tell me why, and tell my viewers why it is important for businesses to build resilience before a crisis happens.
First thing, a crisis is any event or activity is going to disrupt the business functions. Mm-hmm. All businesses operate within a specific environment. Mm-hmm. This consists of their customers, their suppliers, their competition, and what we call pressure groups, which could be legislative framework surrounding the business. Mm-hmm. Where this framework is interrupted, you're going to lose your customers, which is your basic revenue.
Correct.
Your competition is going to take you over.
It's true.
And the suppliers will no longer have you. Mm-hmm. The law might get you too.
Correct.
And we have an example, a very, very recent example of the law affecting a certain company where it cannot function anymore.
Yes.
The resilience comes when you can recover from the effects of the crisis. A crisis is not part of your plan. So therefore, you must evaluate or conduct a risk analysis of what likely can happen.
What could be that potential crisis?
And put some measures in place to recover as quickly as possible.
Good. So tell us the type of emergencies that, when we consider our Barbadian context, that businesses here should plan for. Because you rightfully mentioned about planning. So tell us some crises and emergencies. Emergencies, that they should plan for.
Our basic situation now, especially since we are in the digital era, is electricity outages, internet outages. The emergency aspect of it is localized and it is confined to internal where you can recover from it. So in terms of your backup plan, you need generators. You might have to refer back to the old method of filing and documentation when the internet goes out, because that is a serious problem when you lose internet.
Correct.
And you are basically digitized. Then people are very perturbed and you cannot get through. You can't get through at this company, you can't get through at that company.
It's true.
And
It's true.
any company who is processing in their environment of business must not fully rely digitally, and they must always have the secondary measure of interacting with their customers.
So I know we're the hurricane belt, for want of a better phrase. Is this something that we should still, because we haven't been hit seriously in many years, and I know people always like to say God is a major. What would you say in terms of hurricanes and maybe potentially earthquakes, because we're seeing a lot of activity now with that? What should be some of the first steps in a plan to consider either of those things?
First thing, the disasters are horrible. And in preparing for a disaster, whether you are in office or whether you're at home, it makes a big difference. In office calls also for your emergency plans. A hurricane is easier than an earthquake because an earthquake might be more sudden.
Right.
Therefore, you should have earthquake drills and training where you teach people how to shelter under the beams, shelter under the desks, stay in place. The collapse zone of the building, which is 1.5 times the height of the building. Evacuation might not be an option in an earthquake. It's better to shelter in place. For a hurricane, though, you have hurricane warnings. We have modern hurricane systems.
Correct.
So most emergency plans has a shutdown period, at least 2 hours before the strike. Which means that you should be going to a safe environment. If your home is not safe, you're going to a hurricane shelter. However, the office must have systems in place to protect their documents. All offices should have safes and other rooms, vaults to protect their documents. Unless you're moving with them to a safe
location.
Yes.
Yeah. So we talked about this plan. How often should organizations review that plan for effectiveness?
Well, a plan now, and we know how dynamic the place is. One time you used to say a strategic plan can last you for as much as 7 to 10 years, and now they go for 3 years.
Right.
But
why has that changed?
Because of the changing dynamics of the world, the ever-changing times. And right now, I would say annually for business in an emergency plan, you are mandated by law on the Occupational Health and Safety Act to have at least one drill every 6 months. But annually, you should look at your emergency plan. You can look at what went wrong, what did not, and what is happening externally in relation to what can bring on your crisis or your emergency.
I am very glad that you mentioned about the emergency drills, at least. You said one every 6 months, right? Mandated. And I can tell you that that is an area where a lot of businesses falter. Falter. So what piece of advice would you want to give companies? Because what you hear them say is that because of operations, it's very difficult to do it, and we would got to shut off the entire operations and all that. What piece of advice would you give businesses that have that as the complaint for why they cannot do these mandated drills?
I'm going to truly law at them firstly, and let them know that they're in violation of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. And then I'm going to tell them that if they don't build that culture, it cannot exist. So once you have that non-emergency culture, it will never exist, and then you're going to be faced with litigations for liabilities for people that you're employed, and you're going to be faced with a massive shutdown when these things happen. Yes, it does not bring revenue. It probably takes revenue, and that is the problem. You cannot be like that. You have to inbuild in your budget, your annual budget, the period for drills and training. It must be part of your financial planning going forward. And it saves lives. It shows the workers that you care about them. How to get out, when to get out, when to go, when to start back work. It actually is a motivational tool for an organization that is safety.
I love that you said that. You actually answered my next question, because I was about to ask you, how can they go about building it in? And you made a very valid point. Build it into your plan and your budget before, so that you can account for that minor period of loss. Because it's not going to take forever.
It's a minor period.
Yeah, it's a minor period. It's not going to take forever. So I want you to tell me then, what should an evacuation map include?
The evacuation map is very, very simple, and I always teach people is an ABC. You look at your risk analysis and determine what is the possible crisis. Fire, most people see a fire. It could be a bomb threat. It could be, as you probably would allude to later, violence in the workplace, but
Yeah, I want to touch on that, definitely.
the map tells persons which are the easiest routes to go. The map.
To get to safety.
Yes, and modern construction always has a protected route. We have relative safety and ultimate safety. You can escape into a corridor that is protected and that's relatively safe, which can lead you to ultimate safety, which is exterior to the emergency. So your map, your map, your actual physical map tells you how to get out, but you go and use the term map more in depth. It is the exact plan from sounding of the alarm to reaction of your workers in the workplace.
Right.
And I've heard them stoop and say, this stupidness again.
Yeah, it's true.
Again.
Yeah, the employees are irritated by it.
Yes, I always tell them, let's hope that remains stupid. Because if
It's
it comes
true.
sensible,
It's true.
there are going to be repercussions and consequences. On
Yeah,
it. Yes.
yeah. And I find we have that mindset in Barbados, and I have to speak to Barbados because this is where we are at. We have that mindset in Barbados. It's never happened, so we comfortable.
They don't understand it.
I tell people it only takes that one moment for something to happen, and you have disaster.
We were just discussing 9/11.
Yeah,
and that never happened either.
Thank you, right? It just takes that one moment, and that's what actually causes things to transition and evolve when you have that one moment.
Yes.
So you need to be prepared for that one moment. So I know you mentioned briefly that about fire, and this is one that people almost always look at. So I'm going to touch on it a bit. What would you say is the role of fire wardens in an organization?
The role of fire warden is to ensure that first we can start internally and make sure that housekeeping is good. There is no clutter of combustible material, especially the organic one, which ignites at lower temperatures under the staircases, in the cupboards. That is a basic day-to-day role. The next role is to understand their area and their persons. The next role is to keep a register of who's at work and who's not. And then when the alarm goes, they are the last people out, so they're going to usher the people out. And they're going to account for their sectors. ABC role.
Nice. I now understand what you mean by the ABC.
Yes.
I love that. So I want to also ask you now, because you mentioned about accounting for people. What should a post-drill evaluation include?
Before the drill, they have two forms or two criteria in drill. One is a testing drill and one is a teaching drill.
Right.
Before the drill, then you teach people, similar to what you say, what escape routes.
Yeah, the training and stuff to prepare you.
Yes, how to leave your stuff behind people and grab the
But
bag.
that's the hardest part, yeah. Let me tell you.
Well, you move straight to the escape route and you teach people how to, as possible, on your way out, account for the fire wardens or on your way up to the point. Because that's all they have to do. Basically, know where the exits are and get out. There are situations that can evolve pretty quickly, and you can teach people that if the room becomes smoke-filled, get down on the floor and crawl out. You will see.
Because your rises.
Yes, you're going to see clarity on the floor.
Yes.
So that's one of the most technical part of the evacuation. But with an early warning system in place, you should not on a modern building or a building that is fire safe, you should not reach that point where the smoke will
overcome the space.
You. Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned about a modern building, because we know we have a lot that aren't so modern, and I think that's where some of the challenges come from.
Right.
That we're still operating in spaces that are not up to current building standards, expecting building standards. So when we get you talked earlier about hurricanes. We mentioned hurricanes earlier, and I know in prior roles I've been in, we've done tabletop exercises, and I'm always surprised when I mention those to clients that some of them have never heard about that before, and I thought it very critical for us to talk a little bit about tabletop exercises, what they are and their importance today. So I want you to elaborate a little bit on tabletop exercises and what strengths they bring to this whole disaster management and planning.
The tabletop exercises is the strategy that takes away from the physical disruption of the business.
Correct.
You plan and you bring people into the room with various roles and functions, and you do your timelines. So what is an actual scenario that can occur,
Correct.
and you have it on paper from start to finish, timings, everything, and who does what, and who
The roles that they
right, the
will
roles
all
that
play,
everybody
yes.
plays in the actual emergency.
Correct.
So the tabletop exercise has been used to stop disruptions and simplify the simulations. So it actually comes right back down to the physical drill.
Yeah, and I tell people it brings a lot of value because then if you have never been involved in anything like this before, a drill and all of that, it actually gives you an idea, insight into
Yes.
how you will be expected to
To respond,
respond
yes.
when these things are occurring. Um, so how should businesses prepare for workplace violence or active threats? I really want to touch on that because our society has changed. Our society it has changed and it continues to change, and we're seeing a lot more violence, a lot of threats in the workplace. I can't tell the amount of cases that I've had to deal with that deals with workplace threats and violence and so on. So talk to us a little bit.
That's a deep subject now
Yeah,
because
yeah, I
I'm going
know.
to start with external threats, as you
Correct.
said.
No problem.
External threats call for physical security and cameras. So you must see it coming in. It also depends on the type of business that you are carrying on. Because if you, money-wise, bank lines, you have to be proactive in having somebody assess the irritability of a customer coming in. So I will say your physical infrastructure must be adjusted to suit the times that you are in.
Correct.
And they are not coming with rocks.
I
I'm
don't mean to
hearing about
laugh.
some very heavy weapons
Yeah,
coming.
machinery.
So this too must alert businesses to their budget and financial budget and their early planning as to how they are going to secure the staff and the business from the external threats. Internally, now is the psychological aspect. You have to be in tune with your staff. You have to know who's irritable. You have to know who's having problems. You have to know who don't agree, where they don't agree. So now you, as an HR professional, have to make sure that psychology is a part of the management
Your practice.
systems.
Yeah.
And violence hardly start inside the organization suddenly, because some person could get angry and take up a knife and say you move my
True.
cup, but there's something underlying that would inform that behavior. So you have to be really close to your staff and understand and de-escalate conflict
So
before it
if you're
gets
not
out.
able to de-escalate it, because we could try to de-escalate as much as we want, but if a person is motivated to act in a way, how do we try to ensure that we get people out or away from that threat that's happening on the ground at
That
the
can be
time?
written inside your plan for an escape route or safe room.
So what I'm hearing from you then is that it is essential to not only consider fire and so on in your plan, your ABC plan that you mentioned, but to consider those same workplace threats and
Yes,
how
which is
people would
people.
evacuate.
Right, evacuate or we call shelter in place.
Shelter in place, right? Because if you can't get out, you got to
You
find
got
some way
shelter in
to
place
think.
until the
The threat is
emergency,
mobilized.
until the top guys come in
Yes.
with their weapons and
No
the
problem.
systems.
All right, so we'll just take a brief moment here to get a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. We were having a chat with Errol Gaskin about business resilience and preparing for disasters. So I want us now to discuss persons with disability. Um, what should businesses do to ensure accessibility for persons with disabilities in emergency situations?
In order to deal with persons with disabilities in emergency situations, under normal operating conditions, there must be facilities for persons with disabilities.
So it had to be accounted for beforehand to begin with.
Yes, you have to have these even the parking areas outside.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
And when they enter the building,
Mm-hmm.
some banks, some credit unions have priorities for persons with disabilities. Persons are assigned to them.
Mm-hmm.
So in the cases of emergencies, then those persons are accounted for in the building
Right.
and prioritized for removal through the same entrance, because they will not be able to go through the normal exit routes, down staircases, into external doors. So it is that entrance that takes them back out in emergencies and the care that must be given to them. So you don't see a person with a wheelchair or a person that is disabled into a building and just turn your face against them.
Right.
It depends on the nature of your business also. A customer-friendly business has that entrance and exit route, and you need that additional personnel to account and be able to accompany those persons out. So it might be a warden. So now you're adding to your emergency plan not just sector wardens or floor wardens, but disability wardens.
Wonderful. Because I'm glad you actually mentioned that, because you didn't only touch on the fact of them, the outside space, but accounting for them all throughout the passage coming out, because they will need the assistance, right? And it's very critical. I find that people tend to forget persons with disabilities, and we have to make sure that we account for them in our plans, right? Right. So tell me, what should be included in a business continuity plan? Because we're talking about being resilient, and we cannot wait till when something happens there to say, "Oh, will the business continue, or how will it continue?" What are some of the things when we think about crises or disasters and emergencies that we should factor into a business continuity plan?
First, depending on the crisis or the emergency, you know you have to scale on operations within that time period. Based on the risk analysis, you would know what it takes to get you back up running 2 or 3 or 4 days. So you evaluate your most vulnerable parts of your business, and it might be parts, it might be internet, it might be floor, it might be digital.
Right.
So you look at the time period and the down period, in which the actual risk or the crisis will take place, and you mitigate against that. Again, we're only humans, so you might have to close. Might have to close off for a period, especially with the flooding. I've known a business in town that had to close off because pipe burst, and that you cannot be up and running at the same time. So in your business continuity plan, you're going to look at the time period to start back up. You have to identify the risks specifically.
Right.
And flooding, fires, depending on where they are, and you might have to close or relocate to a location depending on the urgencies. That's the worst case scenario. But on the inside, you would have your generators, you will have your backup storages, and the key here is that once you get back operational, that you can continue from where the crisis start, and that you don't miss periods. I'm aware that a lot of things are missing based on internet problems and downtime with storage. I'm aware. I've been in an organization very recently where a document supposed to be there isn't there, and it got off the database. So you know, in your continuing plan, you must look at what your business, what you're in, what are the risks, what the possibility, what is the downtime for each risk, and secure it so you can start back up from that point.
Right, makes a lot of sense. You mentioned about the fire part and so on. So we talked about disabilities, persons with disabilities, and how do we help them navigate the space to get them out safely, right? What about visitors? Because the visitors will not be privy to our internal plans as an organization and what we would be trained for as employees. What about visitors? How should businesses account for visitors who are in their space at the time with emergencies?
The warden is the key.
Warden
This is an important role of the warden.
Right.
Because again, I've been in a place where the fire alarm went off, and I've heard staff come in, snatch at the bag, and say, "The fire alarm going off. Get out the building." No, unless you carry a logbook for visitors, you do not know a visitor by name, color,
It's
or creed.
true.
But the warden is key to clearing the area.
Mm-hmm.
So the staff goes to the collecting or the assembly point, and the wardens ensure that no one is in the building.
Mm-hmm.
That's again,
So
that's
wardens
part
are
of the
very
exactly.
vital. They
Exactly.
will account for the ones with disabilities and for the visitors.
Disability warden and wardens on the floor or wardens on the sector.
Wonderful.
The key there is that you don't know the visitor's name, you probably don't remember the face, but you know that nobody is in the building.
Right.
It's simple.
Because you're going through your emotions and your training.
And you're clearing the building.
Right. Wonderful, wonderful.
And you're accounting for your staff. All the rest were visitors in the gone. And that's when we tell the staff don't go shopping. It's not. It's just a evacuation, we count, and then we make decisions from there based on the crisis.
Right. So I'm glad you talked about that, because you made a joke about not to go shopping so that you can do your account. This leads me to a very important point. I know there are times I've been either working in the organization or been a visitor of the organization, and a fire drill happened, a fire alarm went off, and you haven't seen the fire service come, you haven't seen an all clear given, but staff are ushered back in or rushed back in. Talk to me a little bit about that, the dangers of that, and why you must receive clearance before this is done.
I saw that happen recently in an organization I was in, but because I retired, I stood down.
Right.
The key is clearance of the building. Some security officers are trained in assessing the panel, which we call the annunciation panel, which says what the fault is.
Right.
Some of them are even trained that the annunciation panel gives an early warning or buzz before the alarm, and they can silence it, and they know where the particular fault is.
Right.
Right.
So it means that they can pick it up quickly and make a decision.
Some modern systems allow them to pick it up quickly.
Right.
Where that is not the case, no one should send people into the building, neither should wardens silence the alarm unless there's a very proper search and thorough search of the building. After the arrival of the fire service will clear the building. Unless, and I would suggest that those persons who are going to interact with the alarm, if they are not in that area either, they should not go in. And I have said that many times. Right? You do not assume that I have a fault in a building and I'm going to check the fault before the fire service arrives. And I've said to many security officers, there's a reason why fire officers has fire kit. They have breathing protection, they have head protection, they have chest,
they have their
leg
PPE.
Right? You do not have it though.
Correct.
So you don't walk halfway across the building and say, I'm going to check this, so I'm going to check this room. You are to get the people out. If possible, secure the building as much as possible from people interfering, depending on the nature and wait on the fire department. So there's about 3 criteria: whether or not you're close to the annunciation panel, close enough to understand what is happening in the building, and then you will still report the fault to fire service, who will follow up with the company that fixes the alarm to ensure that this condition is sorted out. If you're not near there, then you continue to secure the building. If you're a security officer, the warden, get the people out, and do not send people back into a building that has not been certified or there has not been communication with the fire department on the nature of the extent of the problem. It is careless. And it has a lot of liability with it. Again, we take the legal aspect of it.
Correct.
The duty of care.
Exactly.
We're going into a law of talk.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know we'll be coming out of the buildings and so on. We have to gather in particular areas. What should people consider or businesses consider when they're selecting a muster point? Right,
assembly muster point. It must be upwind. It must not be in the path of the emergency vehicles, and it must be easy and simple to reach. You must know the wind direction, and I would say also, depending on the emergency, the collapse zone in the building, which is 1.5 times the height of the building, because you don't want people assembling some place and then
they topple down and the danger. Correct.
Because then you again will be liable because you send them to their death.
Yeah, correct. All right. So I want to touch on another very touchy subject. I've seen it happen so many times, and I'll tell you, it is a personal bugbear for me. People call into an organization and they're asking to speak to, let me use me as an example, Patricia. And persons answering the phone, oh, she's not here. She will be back at XYZ time, or she'll return at 9 o'clock, and so on. Can you, when we think about disasters or crisis or danger, can you speak to the viewers a little bit about why that is not a good practice? What risks are inherent in that?
You don't know who's on the other line. You do not know what's on the other line. That's one. And two, terrorism is real. So if she come back at 9:30 and it's 9 o'clock, you got 5 minutes to get into the building as this
And
person.
prepare.
You also could have stolen the person's credentials, biometrics, whatever. And that information should be limited in terms of external threats, in terms of
Correct.
personal safety of the person, and even in terms of the personal business.
Correct.
So the person is not there. And if you call a police station, you will get an idea, their training, their level of training as it relates to who the person is and what you want. So you shouldn't always protect the person first, protect your organization, and protect the company from terrorism by giving out that type of information, especially time periods.
Correct. That's a serious one for me. I see people are so laissez-faire with doing it and they just give it up. And my concern is you don't know who's on the other end of the line. And I'll tell you a good example of that. I worked at an organization many years ago, telling my age now, but many years ago, and there was this young lady, somebody gave out the information that she was at work, and the guy came down there and beat her so badly.
Exactly.
Beat her so badly. So I'm very, very cautious in, with things like that, and it could turn out to be so serious,
Yes.
right? And we have to think about that. All right, so we're coming now to near the end. I want to ask you two last questions, and then we're done. What would you say is the correct type of documentation or the adequate type of documentation that should be kept after drills or incidents?
There is a log that the Labor Department inspects. The Labor Department, are you familiar with the Labor Department documents?
Correct.
And this is a log that you must present when you are asked about your emergency, especially on the Occupational Health and Safety Act. There is a format and a log in the Occupational Health and Safety register. The register is called a register, and you must update that register. That register must be kept within the organization.
Right.
When I used to do inspections, the first thing I wanted to see was the register.
Wonderful. So as we wrap up, I want our aim to be a changing of people's mindsets, right? We tend to take things for granted that things will never happen and things will always be well and so on. How can businesses build a culture of preparedness?
Starting with a budget.
Money runs everything, right?
Yeah, they're going to allow the people to do risk management courses or conduct them internally. And everything starts with planning. When I did project management, the problem was that planning was too expensive. So they just want to get in.
Get in the heart of it. Right. Jump right into it.
So the risk analysis is key. The risk analysis is key in building the culture, and you identify the risks. Once you identify the risks, then you tell people what's in it for them.
Yes.
The best alternative to negotiating and
correct.
So once people understand that they have a personal stake in this, they will cooperate with it. So it's the people and the company. Company has to build into their budget, especially the nature and size of the company, that we must do a risk analysis and we must sell the plan to each and every person so they are on board. Because I went to an organization already that said that they have an emergency plan. And that was my hair there on the floor, because a lot of companies were not really fond of me when they done. And I asked them to show me the plan and show me a document. And I asked everybody in the room that was working with the company, you ever see this before? Nobody saw it. I said, you do not have a plan, you have a document.
Correct. So a museum document. That's what it is.
And you know what it was? It was for the purpose of the register. To meet the criteria
only checking the box
standards.
Yeah, the checking the box. So checking the box.
The plan must be sold. right down to whoever you consider to be lowest salary.
But it's
or
not even
middle
a plan
income.
if people don't know about it. How will they execute the plan?
Exactly. So you go to your risk analysis, you look at your risk and your mitigational factors, you develop criteria to overcome those, and you sell it to everybody. Everybody.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for that, Errol. Before I close off, I want to ask, are you available? Because you got to put in the plug for the businesses who may want to seek services and so on. Are you available to do these type of things like risk analysis or anything like that for any companies?
It depends on the time period in which they come to me.
But what I will say, if I get any, I'll forward them on to you, and you can make your determination on whether or not you can fit it into your very tight schedule. Because I know you have a very
I have a
busy
lot of files on the table.
I understand.
Right.
Well, this is it for another episode of Business Matters. I want to thank my guest, Errol, for joining me today.
Welcome.
Has been so insightful. I thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to accommodate me and to let us get this very vital information out to all employers.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Until next time, signing off as host, Patricia White. From boardrooms to break rooms, if it's business, it matters.